The pillow still carries her scent, yet my heart aches unbearably. Unbeknownst to me, Olivia was already preparing to leave. Mr. Thompson's comrade passed away 20 years ago, leaving only lonely Olivia in the Thompson family. To fulfill a promise to my brother, my grandfather had me marry Olivia when I was 22. We got along well after marriage. Everyone said the young couple from the Smith family was very loving. But in truth, we both had someone else in our hearts. Olivia deeply loved her cousin Ethan, but due to their blood relation, they could not be together. The one I loved, Emily, passed away in the summer right after she turned 18. There is no greater pain in this world than the living cannot meet, and the deceased can never be seen again. On the night of the wedding, we finally spoke the truth. We agreed that this absurd marriage would last only 10 years, with just the two of us during that time, and we would part ways once the 10 years were up. Now the time has come. The sound of water in the bathroom suddenly stopped, and I hurriedly shoved the divorce agreement back to its original place. Olivia rushed out of the bathroom, still in her pajamas, throwing on a jacket and heading outside. I grabbed the hem of her clothes and said, "It's so late. Are you still going out?" She stopped, her tone cold and somewhat impatient. "Ethan drank too much and has a stomachache. I need to bring him medicine. You should go to sleep. Don't wait for me." Outside, the sky was pitch black, with no end in sight. "It's snowing heavily outside. It's not safe for you to walk alone." After a moment of silence, she gently pulled her hand away and said, "Thank you for your concern, but Ethan is waiting for me." After saying that, she hurriedly pushed the door open and left. The sound of the car engine was particularly jarring in the snowy night. It wasn't until the last bit of light was swallowed by the heavy snow that I returned to bed. It was time to end this. I took out my phone and booked a flight to Seattle. There's a canary at home waiting for me to return. A friend of mine once saw a girl at a party being pressured to drink by a few big guys. The girl was wearing an old work uniform. She was clearly trembling with fear, but still held her head high. Looking at the photo of her face, which was identical to Emily's, I was moved and decided that day to keep her by my side. After a brief introduction, I directly stated my intentions. Sophia is straightforward. Our conversation went smoothly. She wanted my money, and I wanted her. Later I found out that she had a brother who was undergoing dialysis treatment in the hospital, so I agreed to her request to stay in Seattle. At first, I was worried about how to tell Olivia about this, but now it seems unnecessary. After the divorce, I wanted to leave here anyway. Besides, the Smith family has business in Seattle. Being able to spend the second half of my life with someone who resembles Emily isn't too bad, I think. In the morning, a loud banging on the door woke me up. Ethan was holding a small hammer, with a nonchalant expression that didn't match his age. There was still a trace of lipstick on the corner of his mouth. I recognized at a glance that it was a color Olivia often used. He was holding Olivia's hand, his tone provocative. "It was so cold last night. Did you sleep well?" "I slept with Olivia, and it felt pretty good." Olivia suddenly tensed up and looked at me nervously. I know everything that happened between them, but that's not important anymore. Just as Olivia was about to explain, I interrupted her, saying I had slept well. After that, Olivia suddenly looked up at me, her expression complex. I didn't want to say much more to them, so I turned and went downstairs. Seeing that I didn't care much, Ethan hugged Olivia and kissed her just as I turned around. I heard the sound of their kiss, but I didn't want to look back at all. The living room was filled with Ethan's things, and Olivia was breathing a bit heavily as she rushed over to explain, saying that Ethan often had stomach issues and she couldn't rest easy letting him stay alone. I didn't even raise my head as I passed by her, sitting directly at the dining table. "Fine, welcome." Olivia gently bit her lip, looking at me cautiously. "Are you angry?" I shook my head and calmly said, "What's there to be angry about? He lives closer to you, and you're happy about it. Isn't that great?" Olivia's expression wasn't good. She hesitated to speak but ultimately remained silent. I wasn't in the mood to watch them act out a love scene here, so I grabbed my car keys and headed out. "Smith, where are you going?" I glanced at the clock on the wall and impatiently said, "It's 2 in the afternoon. Isabella's piano recital is today." "You actually forgot. The Scott family and the Smith family are important partners, Olivia, you know this well. How could you mess up at a time like this?" My attitude wasn't great, and her eyes immediately turned red, looking at me with a sense of grievance. "I'm going with you." I lowered my head and stayed silent. Indeed, if we don't make an appearance together at such an occasion, it will surely cause trouble when the news reaches the old man. While I was driving, Olivia took Ethan to the back seat. Ethan smelled strongly of cologne, and when I opened the window a bit, he suddenly started coughing violently. Olivia quickly patted his back and turned to me, saying, "Smith, Ethan is still sick. Didn't you know? It's so cold. And you still open the window. Was that intentional? Quickly close it." She looked over from the rearview mirror, and the concern in her eyes was genuine. I forced a smile and closed the window again. In the banquet hall, the guests were already seated. Olivia released Ethan's hand and came over to link her arm with mine. After the music stopped, we were invited to the backyard of the Scott house. Isabella looked at me with a big smile and said, "Smith, how did I play?" I patted her head and replied with a smile, "You play especially well. Dad said that Brother Smith and Sister Olivia also play the piano very well, and I want to listen." Olivia smiled and agreed, sitting down at the piano first. I didn't expect Ethan to be faster than me, as he quickly sat down next to her. The atmosphere in the living room suddenly became a bit awkward. "Olivia, can we play together?" Ethan smiled as he wrapped his arm around Olivia's waist, asking, but his tone was quite assertive. Olivia stiffened slightly, glanced at my expression, and then nodded in agreement. They started playing the piano together, with Olivia beginning first. Ethan followed the rhythm but kept playing the wrong notes. When their hands touched for the 10th time, Ethan stopped and, feeling a bit wronged, asked, "Olivia, am I affecting you?" Olivia showed an awkward expression and hurriedly explained, "It's not like that. I'm used to collaborating with Smith." I suddenly changed my playing style and couldn't adjust right away. "Ethan, please don't be upset, okay?" Ethan's eyes turned red all of a sudden, and he said with a trembling voice, "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have taken Smith's place." Olivia stammered, trying to explain further, but she couldn't find the words. "Every time the piano sounds, she only thinks of me. What's going on?" Hearing this, I smiled and lowered my head. The first person I played piano with was Emily. All my piano habits were formed because of her. Olivia doesn't know how to play the piano at all. I gradually taught her. Emily is used to playing with her left hand, while Olivia prefers her right hand, making it difficult to coordinate with others. Isabella's eyes clearly showed mockery. Seeing this delicate lady about to lose her temper, I quickly walked in front of Ethan and politely said, "Sorry to interrupt you. How about I take over?" Olivia understood that I was helping her out. As a piece of music ended, Isabella applauded happily, saying that the eldest brother and sister-in-law were the best match. Ethan's gaze towards me suddenly turned fierce. As I passed the table, he violently knocked over the champagne tower in front of him. I immediately protected Olivia in my arms. "Smith," I waved my hand and said it was fine. Ethan pretended to be embarrassed, walked over, and pulled Olivia away from me, saying, "Sorry, I lost my balance just now. You won't be mad, will you?" Olivia looked at me awkwardly. "Smith, with so many people watching, just do me a favor and don't let Ethan lose face. Okay?" The wine was running down my forehead. I touched the small cut on my face from the glass shard and ignored her. After a moment of silence, Olivia suddenly asked, "Smith, what would you do if it were Emily who made a mistake today?" I was taken aback because Olivia rarely initiated conversations about her matters with me. "All right." Seeing the gentle smile on my face, Olivia felt inexplicably irritated. As I was about to leave, she suddenly grabbed my sleeve and asked, "Do you really like Emily that much?" Even though she had been gone for so long, the warmth in my eyes instantly vanished. As I looked at her, my gaze was extremely cold. "That's right. I will love her until the last moment of my life. Olivia, don't say such things to me again in the future." I shook off her hand, turned around, and got into the car to leave. This time I was determined to leave Olivia and not hesitate any longer. There wasn't much to pack at home. I will leave this house to Olivia and take everything else with me. I took the suitcase out of the closet and started packing. It was only deep into the night that Olivia returned in Ethan's car. She opened the door and gently sat on the edge of the bed. The smell of alcohol on her made me frown. Smith and Ethan were in a bad mood, so I stayed outside with him for a while longer. He would be scared sleeping alone in a strange place, so I went to keep him company. I nodded and wrapped the blanket tighter around myself. What fear? It was just an excuse Ethan used to keep Olivia away from me, but I no longer cared about that. The next day when I went downstairs, Olivia was planning to take Ethan to the mall. Ethan's clothes were out of season, so I took him to buy some new ones. "Smith, do you want to join us?" I was about to say no, But then my phone suddenly received a text from Sophia. After this round of treatment, my brother is doing much better. Thank you. I smiled as I turned off my phone and accepted Olivia's invitation. Since I was leaving in a couple of days, it wouldn't be appropriate to go empty-handed. Ethan used my black card without hesitation to buy everything he liked. Olivia closely followed behind him, her eyes full of affection. Clothes, watches, Lego, sofas, porcelain. Her gaze never left him, perhaps noticing the gazes of those around her. She suddenly stopped and turned to ask me, "Smith, do you need anything?" I told her not to worry about me, just to have the assistant wrap up the blue diamond necklace from the top of the jewelry display. Sophia has fair skin, and she would definitely look beautiful wearing this. Olivia's expression softened immediately, even though she had momentarily neglected me because of Ethan. I was still thinking about buying her a necklace. She walked over with a smile and took the gift box containing the necklace from the assistant. "No need to wrap it. I'll wear it right now." "Smith, thank you for the gift you prepared. I really like it." Everyone sighed, saying that Smith always spends lavishly just to make his wife happy. Truly a model of a good man. Indeed, it seems their marriage is really strong. Olivia was about to open the box, but before I could stop her, Ethan intercepted her. He said, "Olivia, my stomach is hurting again." Olivia was startled, and the gift box in her hand fell to the ground with a thud. She didn't even look at me, flustered as she told the driver, "Hurry, go to the hospital." As they were leaving, Ethan glanced back at me, and his gaze seemed to challenge me. I ignored it, just frowning and staring at the necklace that had fallen on the ground. My disdain no longer hidden. "Let's change to a different one." On the way home, I was filled with thoughts of how happy Sophia was when she received the gift, completely unaware that the car had taken a wrong turn. The car shook more and more. Just as I looked up, the next moment I knew nothing at all. When I opened my eyes, I found my hands and feet were bound by iron chains, and a thick rope was around my neck. A few thugs surrounded me. Seeing that I was awake, they quickly took a photo with their phone and said, "Brother Ethan, he's awake." They turned the phone around, and on the screen, Ethan's face was very close, smiling in a particularly frightening way, his gaze sending chills down my spine. "Smith, I never expected you would do this. Not only do you dare to interrupt my date with Olivia, but you also want to use that cheap necklace to win her over. Now, I finally see your true colors. This necklace doesn't belong to Olivia. You're lying. If you don't give it to her, who else would you give it to?" Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, looking completely out of control. "This is all your own doing. Do it." With his command, the accomplice beside him pressed the switch. The rope gradually tightened, and I was lifted off the ground, my neck in severe pain, and breathing becoming increasingly difficult. Ethan laughed loudly beside me, and my consciousness began to blur. The moment Olivia rushed into the basement with her bodyguard, my awareness gradually faded. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a hospital room. Seeing that I was awake, Ethan immediately showed a hint of a gloomy expression. Olivia stood by the bedside, her eyes slightly red, holding my hand and saying, "Smith, it's good that you're okay." But I ignored her and directly stared at the assistant by the door, saying, "Call the police." Upon hearing this, Ethan's face suddenly turned pale. Olivia's moment of regret instantly vanished, and her voice rose, "He's just a kid. Do you really need to call the police? Ethan is just feeling uncomfortable. Do you have to make this so embarrassing? Besides, I've already dealt with him. You don't need to keep bringing it up." I looked up at her and calmly asked, "How did you deal with him?" Olivia was taken aback. Speaking a bit unnaturally, "I took away his phone and made him write you an apology letter." Ethan threw a crumpled piece of paper onto my bed. Did I just sigh like that? "Olivia, I almost lost my life. Did you know?" Olivia stood up suddenly, her brow tightly furrowed. "But aren't you fine now?" The scent of gardenias from her wafted over, and I suddenly felt weak all over. "Emily, she loves gardenias the most." After a long while, I quietly said, "Fine, let's just let this go." Perhaps she didn't expect me to suddenly change my mind, and Olivia's expression relaxed a bit. "Really?" I nodded. "You're right. Ethan just cares about you a lot. If it were Emily who made a mistake today, I would ask you not to pursue it either. I love Emily just like you love Ethan, right?" I clearly said what she wanted to hear, but Olivia didn't seem happy at all. Instead, she looked very sad. She stood there, unconsciously rubbing the edge of her white dress, words on the tip of her tongue but swallowed back. After a long while, she finally said softly, "Smith, I am your wife. Can we stop talking like this?" I scoffed. "But my wife loves someone else, right? Do you regret it?" I tilted my head to look at her, smiling casually, but my words struck at her thoughts. Seeing that Olivia remained silent, Ethan became anxious. Once again, in front of everyone, his eyes reddened as he looked at Olivia with a sad expression. "Olivia, is everything she said true? Are you having regrets? You think I did something wrong and that I'm getting in your way, don't you? Fine, I'm leaving." After saying that, he slammed the door and left. Olivia sighed and said to me apologetically, "After all, he's still young, and I'm worried he might get into trouble, so..." Before she could finish, I interrupted. "Okay, I understand, you can go." When Olivia's footsteps gradually faded away, I slowly got out of bed. The pain in my neck had lessened quite a bit, but the frightening purple bruise remained. Back home, I picked up the packed luggage and called the airline customer service. "Hello, I would like to change my flight." The new flight information was quickly sent to my phone. Before getting in the car, I took one last look at this house filled with 10 years of memories. "Goodbye, Olivia." Olivia carefully moved Ethan's hand away and confirmed several times that he was sound asleep before driving to the mall. "Give me that blue necklace from last time, and wrap up the matching men's ring with it as well." On the way to the hospital, Olivia sat in the back seat, lost in thought. Last time, because of Ethan, she left Smith alone at the mall. Although this wasn't the first time she had done this, her woman's intuition told her that Smith seemed different this time. Olivia felt that Smith was hiding something from her. This made her uncomfortable. As the ward door opened halfway, she quietly called out Smith's name through the crack. No one answered, and Olivia frowned. Just as she was about to step inside, a strange man behind her called out to her, "Hey, who are you?" Olivia glanced at the door number again. It was definitely the right place. She said to the man at the door, "I'm looking for my husband Smith. Who are you?" The man clicked his tongue impatiently and pushed her aside, saying, "What's Smith? My mom lives here. If you don't leave, I'll really take action." Olivia's wrist was bruised from the shove, and she felt a wave of discomfort. Ignoring the man blocking her, she rushed straight into the ward. As the man said, "There is only an old man napping on the sickbed." Olivia stood frozen in place. Feeling a bit panicked, she turned and ran out of the ward, rushing to the nurse's station to ask where Smith had gone. The nurse looked at her in confusion and said, "Smith always checks out after you leave. Didn't he tell you?" Olivia was momentarily stunned, standing there speechless, just mindlessly murmuring, "Checked out? Why didn't he tell me?" The nurse shook her head, saying Smith seemed to be in a hurry when he left. Olivia, trembling, took out her phone from her bag and called Smith. The voicemail said, "Hello? The number you have dialed is turned off. Please try again later." She kept dialing, but she could only hear that cold, mechanical female voice. Olivia was feeling particularly anxious, to the point of panic. She could even clearly hear her heart racing. All she wanted was to get home quickly. Smith must have gone home. His injury isn't healed. There's no way he could go anywhere else, Olivia thought, quickly driving back to Thompson's house. Olivia saw Smith's car parked in the underground garage and felt a bit more at ease. She tucked the ring into her pocket, slowly pushed the door open, and softly said, "Smith, I'm back." The room looked the same as always, with the cool air filled with the scent of the gardenias that Smith loved. Despite calling out for a long time, Smith still didn't show up. Olivia pushed open the bedroom door and immediately saw a divorce agreement laid out on the white sheets. It was the divorce agreement she had previously hidden in the closet. Olivia felt a buzzing in her head, her mind going blank. She almost rushed to the bed, and at the end of the agreement, next to Olivia's name, Smith's name was clearly written. The air in the room suddenly felt heavy. Suddenly, a vague feeling arose in Olivia's heart, and a strong sense of regret nearly overwhelmed her. She had indeed thought about divorce, but that day she only signed the agreement to coax the angry Ethan into taking his medicine. She had never thought of actually handing the agreement to Smith. Olivia sat on the floor, completely drained of strength. The diamond ring fell from her pocket to the ground. She tried to catch it, but as soon as the blue diamond touched the floor, it shattered into pieces. Looking at the broken ring, Olivia started to cry. Her heart felt like it was being violently squeezed, making it hard to breathe. She didn't understand how Smith found this agreement, nor did she understand why he wanted to sign it. At that moment, her phone suddenly rang, receiving an email. Olivia, feeling disheartened, picked up her phone and saw that the sender was Smith. She seemed to see a glimmer of hope, trembling as she opened the email, only to find it was scheduled to be sent. The email contained only one sentence. 10 years are up, let's each live our lives well. Olivia suddenly smiled. As she laughed, tears began to fall. This marriage has had an expiration date from the very beginning. Being by Smith's side was so comfortable that I almost forgot about that matter. But Smith hasn't forgotten. All these years, he has been counting down the days until I would leave. It's too late to say anything now. Smith has already left. When I arrived at the airport, Sophia was already waiting at the door. In the past, because of Olivia, I would only chat briefly with Sophia on my phone when I thought of Emily, or video call for a little while. This was the first time I saw her up close. She wore a light yellow dress, smiled gently at me, and held a bouquet of gardenias. It's almost identical, especially those expressive apricot-shaped eyes, along with the reddish-brown beauty mark at the corner. I suddenly felt my eyes welling up, which made Sophia flustered. I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. I thought you would like it this way. I won't dress like this next time. Please don't be angry. Okay? I hugged her, shaking my head and saying, it's great like this, you're beautiful, thank you. After getting in the car, Sophia still seemed a bit uneasy. I asked her how her brother was doing recently, and then the car fell silent. I took the initiative to say, the 500,000 you were promised will be transferred to your account on time each month, and I'll give you an additional $1 million. Let's consider it a perfect attendance bonus. Sophia's face turned red all of a sudden, looking at me in surprise. Then she couldn't help but laugh. I was a bit surprised, not understanding what I said wrong, perhaps realizing the inappropriateness of my attitude. Sophia cleared her throat and said, Mr. Smith, thank you for your kindness, but the previously agreed 500,000 is enough to cover my brother's medical expenses. I won't accept the extra money, and I have a job now with a stable income. I'm a bit surprised, but I nodded and agreed. All right. I took Sophia directly back to the seaside villa. After settling her into the guest room, I went back to my room to take a shower. So much has happened these past few days. I feel particularly tired. After I finished showering and came out, I found Sophia sitting on my bed. She was wearing only a silk camisole, looking particularly charming under the soft light. When she saw me, her face turned even redder. I stood there dumbfounded, stuttering, "Are you in the wrong room?" Sophia didn't say anything, just bit her lip, got off the bed, walked up to me and hugged me, saying, "Smith, let's be together." I understood she was thanking me for paying her medical bills. To be honest, before coming to Seattle, I wanted her to completely belong to me just because she looked like Emily. But now that the moment has come, I hesitated a bit. Sophia seemed a bit scared, her body trembling slightly. She looked up at me, her moist eyes reflecting my face. "Please don't reject me." I was momentarily stunned, then carefully picked her up and laid her on the bed, leaning down to kiss her lips. Once the feelings surged, I couldn't control myself, becoming more and more immersed in the kiss, as if I wanted to swallow her whole. Finally, I gently wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes and said thank you. The next morning, I groggily reached out beside me and found that I was alone in bed. I suddenly became fully awake, and before I could say anything, Sophia smiled. She asked, "Mr. Smith, were you looking for me?" She was wearing a simple white shirt with her ponytail tied up high, looking particularly fresh. I didn't know if it was just my imagination, but I felt Sophia's outfit resembled Emily's style a bit, whether it was yesterday's yellow dress or today's white shirt. However, I had never mentioned this to her. I stood up, wrapped my arms around her waist, and asked her, "Where are you going?" Sophia paused, looked up at me with a slightly hesitant tone. "The hospital called and asked me to come in. Mr. Smith, can I go?" I smiled and softly replied, "Of course, you don't need to ask for my permission. You can do whatever you want." Sophia's eyes suddenly lit up, and she hesitated to ask, "Can you go with me?" I nodded. As if encouraged, Sophia quickly walked back to her room, and when she came out, she was holding a white shirt. It looked like a couple style, similar to the one she was wearing. She handed me the shirt and asked, "Would you wear this with me?" I stared at the shirt and didn't reach for it. Sophia's fingers stiffened, and her eyes suddenly turned red. "I'm sorry, Smith. I shouldn't have suggested that. If you don't want to wear it, then forget it." Seeing her like that, I couldn't help but laugh. I was willing. Sophia was busy running around the hospital for a while, and I followed her the whole time. It wasn't until it was almost dark that we finally left the hospital. Sophia linked her arm with mine, and we walked along the riverbank together. Petals blown by the wind fell onto her shoulder, and I stopped to help brush them off, but she grabbed my wrist. I opened my hand and found a white gardenia in my palm. Sophia's eyes sparkled with an unmistakable smile. "Could you help me put this flower in my ear?" I didn't refuse. She suddenly tiptoed and kissed me when I bent down. This kiss nearly intoxicated me with her tenderness. Suddenly, hurried footsteps came from behind, and then Sophia was pushed hard by someone. "What are you doing?" I quickly supported Sophia, who almost fell, and turned to see Olivia staring at us coldly. I've never seen her with such an expression. Her eyes were fixed on Sophia, fierce enough to tear someone apart. Sophia was scared like a little rabbit, holding my hand and trembling uncontrollably. Seeing her like this made Olivia even angrier. She raised her hand to hit Sophia, but I grabbed her wrist. I carefully held her in my arms, glaring angrily at Olivia. "What are you doing?" I was gripping Olivia's wrist tightly enough to hurt, but she didn't care and shouted at me. "I should be asking you that. Running away secretly and immediately dating someone else. Smith, you're really too much." I lifted my chin, my tone as cold as ice. "We're already divorced. My affairs are none of your business, right?" Olivia's heart ached again, as if it had been twisted. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling, and I disagreed. "I'm still your wife, and I won't allow you to be with anyone else. I'm to blame for the divorce. I know I was wrong. It was only after you left that I realized I really can't live without you. I love you, Smith." I laughed, and my laughter was laced with obvious sarcasm. "Isn't the person you can't live without Ethan?" Olivia looked a bit embarrassed but forced a smile and said to me, "I used to think my greatest love was Ethan, but after you left, I realized I can't go on without you. It's not easy to change a habit of 10 years. I love you, which is why I get jealous of Emily. Even if she's no longer here, she will always be the most important person in your heart." "Honey, I was wrong. Let's stop arguing and make up. Okay? I really can't do without you." By the end, her voice was almost pleading. Olivia's confession, spoken with all her courage, felt to me like a stone dropping into a deep pond, causing not even a ripple. "So what now?" I asked her with a smile. "Just because you suddenly realize that the person you love is me, I should forget the past, let everything go, and return to your side without a care." "I'm sorry. I'm not that humble. Maybe you can't live without me, but I can completely leave you, Olivia." With every word, Olivia's face grew paler. In the past, when she was willful, I would just smile even if I was unhappy. Now I'm holding someone else and saying such hurtful things to her. Olivia completely lost control, pointing at Sophia and screaming, "It's all because of this woman, isn't it? What makes her better than me? I have money, status, I'm better looking than her, and my figure is better too. A girl like her, with that innocent type, definitely isn't as charming as I am. Why do you have to support her?" By the end, she was almost shouting. I was stunned, not expecting the usually calm and proud Olivia to say something like this. This spoiled young lady from the Thompson family cried so loudly on the street for the first time. Regardless of what others thought, I sighed, afraid of scaring Sophia, and took a few steps back, distancing myself from Olivia. "I admit, you are right about everything, but there is one thing you will never surpass her in." Olivia looked up at me, puzzled. I quietly watched her. "She really looks like Emily." Olivia was trembling all over, her face filled with shock. "Are you getting a divorce from me just because of her? Then what am I? What do our 10 years together amount to?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Olivia, don't get it wrong. You signed the divorce agreement first. I'm just following your wishes. If we're talking about what it amounts to, you're just someone Ethan can call at any time, and I'm just a part of your game." Olivia still didn't want to give up and asked, "Do you really have no feelings for me at all?" I answered directly, "Of course I do. Even raising a pet for 10 years would create feelings. I'm also human. How could I not have feelings? But it's just like the respect for a contractual wife. That's all there is to it." Olivia smiled bitterly. Her heart felt so numb it was almost unbearable. She asked, "Do you love her?" I was taken aback. The person in my arms was burning hot. After thinking for a moment, I nodded and said, "Maybe." Hearing me admit I had fallen for someone else, Olivia was completely despairing. Is it just because she looks like Emily? If I were like her, would you fall in love with me again? She suppressed her emotions, her voice unusually calm, but it sounded somewhat strange. I sighed and said, the money I gave you is enough for you and Ethan to live comfortably for a lifetime. Why put yourself through this? But I can't live without you. I hurt you because of Ethan. That's my fault. But just thinking about you being with someone else makes me feel unbearable. I'm begging you for another chance. I'll agree to anything you want. I looked at her and said clearly, word by word, I want you to disappear forever. Don't let me see you again. After saying that, I took Sophia and left. That night, Sophia and I were very close. Afterward, she lay beside me and softly asked, Smith, if that person is more like the one you can't forget, would you leave me? I was so tired I could hardly open my eyes. I shook my head and said, no one could be more like her than you. After saying that, he fell asleep. From that day on, I never heard any news about Olivia. One day, I went to pick up Sophia after work, and my phone suddenly rang. It was a video call request from Sophia. I'm a bit confused. When I opened it, another face appeared on the phone screen. Smith, long time no see. I felt a tightness in my chest. Where is Sophia? Ethan turned the camera towards Sophia. She was unconscious, her hands and feet tightly bound with ropes. Seeing my tense expression, he laughed loudly. Smith, you're in my hands again. After saying that, he directly threw a basin of cold water over Sophia's head. Sophia suddenly opened her eyes, filled with fear. Upon seeing me, she cried out, Smith, I'm so scared. I was about to comfort her when Ethan preemptively slapped her hard and yelled, no crying. If you cry again, I won't be polite to you. Ethan's voice was hoarse, and his gaze was fierce. Seeing blood at the corner of Sophia's mouth made me feel extremely distressed. Ethan, if you have a problem, come at me. What are you doing to a woman? I already returned Olivia to you. What more do you want? Mentioning Olivia made Ethan's eyes even more agitated. Return to me? Do you know what she has become now? It's all because of you that Olivia ended up like this. I want you to experience the pain of losing your most beloved person. I don't understand what he's saying, but there's no time to think about it now. I have to get there as soon as possible, and before that, I need to stall him as much as I can. But Ethan didn't give me a chance and hung up the phone immediately. When I called back, no one answered anymore. My heart raced faster as I stepped on the gas and drove towards the navigation location. When the car stopped at the warehouse entrance, dust rose up, and I vaguely saw a woman in a light blue hospital gown with thick bandages wrapped around her head. But as soon as I took a step, I heard the front door being kicked open violently. Ethan, with a glimmering dagger in his hand, lunged at me, his face frozen in shock. How could you find this place? I didn't say much and rushed up to fight him. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot as he gripped the dagger tightly, aiming for my vital points. I quickly dodged and gradually led him away from Sophia. Ethan seemed to have guessed my intentions. As I stepped back again, he suddenly turned and ran towards Sophia. In a moment of desperation, I grabbed his collar, but he retaliated with a knife that plunged into my right shoulder. The blood immediately soaked through my clothes, and the intense pain made me bend over and cover the wound with my hand. Ethan approached step by step, laughing somewhat maniacally, and kicked me in the chest. I fell to the ground, struggling to stay calm, adjusting my breathing while groping in the corner with my left hand. Ethan came closer with a strange smile and said, Smith, do you understand? The two things I regret most in my life are watching Olivia marry you and not resolving you that night. Now, I can finally make up for one of them. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly drew a dagger and thrust it straight at my heart. In that instant, I rolled to the side with all my strength to dodge the attack and grab the steel bar I had prepared earlier, hitting him hard on the head. Suddenly, everything around became eerily quiet. All I could hear was the dagger falling to the ground, and Ethan fell straight backward. I struggled to get up and hurried to see how Sophia was doing. She was breathing steadily. She should just be temporarily unconscious. I picked her up and headed toward the door. Smith, you will face retribution, Ethan shouted behind me. I turned around and found he was almost catching up to me. This knife can't be dodged. I hugged Sophia tightly, wanting to protect her. Hearing the sound of the knife piercing flesh, strangely, I didn't feel any pain. Olivia, looking back, it was the woman I had encountered at the door earlier. The bandage on her head had come loose, revealing a face somewhat resembling Emily's. But upon closer inspection, I could still recognize her. It was Olivia. I finally understood why Ethan wanted to kidnap Sophia and what he meant when he said I ruined Olivia. Smith, can you forgive me for something like this? Can you come back with me? Let's not get a divorce. Okay? Her voice was soft, her whole body weakly leaning against Ethan, but her eyes stubbornly fixed on me. When the assistant brought the police over, before I could say anything, Olivia was taken away by ambulance, and Ethan was arrested by the police. Before we even reached the hospital, the assistant sent a message saying that Mr. Smith, the doctor said Miss Olivia couldn't be saved. She was already gone. My mind went blank, staring at my phone, feeling as if I had been struck by lightning. A week later, my injuries healed, and I was discharged from the hospital. Sophia accompanied me to collect Olivia's ashes. Before the burial, I took the ashes to the prison one last time. Ethan was sentenced to life imprisonment for intentional homicide. He sat across from me in a prison uniform, with no sign of wanting to live. I handed him the cremation certificate and told him that Olivia would be buried tomorrow. Ethan, who had been unresponsive, suddenly became agitated when he saw the urn I was holding. He abruptly stood up and pounded on the glass in front of him. You despicable guy, who gave you the right to set her on fire? You must pay for this. I want you to pay the price. The loud commotion attracted the guards. I walked out of the visiting room with my head down. The sun was shining brightly outside, warming me up. Sophia held my hand and asked, "Do you regret it?" I smiled and shook my head. No, the path is walked by oneself, and I still have a long way to go.